So, thanks so much for coming here, Jyoti.
You're welcome.
It is really great to have you here. So, just for the audience to know a bit more about you, would you mind sharing a bit about your background, what you used to do, what made you choose to get into ECE, and your experiences in
Sure.
ECE? Yeah.
So I was brought up in a joint family, so I was there with my younger siblings. So naturally, I started taking care of them, and I would help them with their homework. But I wasn't sure about my career at that time. So I have a role model in my life. She's my auntie. So she asked me that I should work voluntary in school and
Yep.
see for myself whether I like working with children
And
or
this
not.
auntie of yours, she's based here, is it?
She is,
She's
yes.
in New Zealand, right?
Yes, she
Yep.
is. So, yeah. So she asked me to do voluntary work in schools. So that's where I started my first work. I worked in British school, which is like an international school in India. I worked with 6 years old age group. And I enjoyed working with them because there was it's very different from how Indian teaching works. Like Indian teaching is more about like a blackboard and chalk and the teacher is telling you and you're listening. There's no contribution or conversation going on between teachers and student. But in this school, like it's British school, international school in India, so all the teachers there were like Britishers or from Europe and like international students and international teachers. So I saw different perspective of how they teach. It's more about conversation and like asking for children's contribution. And they're working in groups, not all together. And it's not all like blackboard and chalk. It's talking and books and role playing, stuff like that. So that was my first experience, international experience, and I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. I just don't want the same old method of teaching. I want something different. So I started looking up for it, and I came across Montessori teaching of method. And this is when I decided that I'll do Montessori. So I went to Chennai. In India, we have only like 3 centers that teaches you AMI Montessori.
Right.
So AMI Montessori is a Montessori that is recognized all over,
It is.
the-
Yeah,
it's
AMI
international.
is quite well known.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's MMI too, but AMI is the one that's internationally recognized.
Right.
Yeah. So I decided to do that, and after 9 months of intense course, I applied for a job in Delhi in India, and
Yeah.
I worked there for 2.5 years.
Okay.
So while working in a Montessori environment, I love that method. It's beautiful. I love the way how you teach children through materials. Like
Yeah.
you show them visually what's going on.
Yeah.
Like you have rods, number rods,
Yeah.
and you show them visually how 1 plus 1 becomes 2. So 1 is this much size, and 2 will double up, and 3 will triple up. So you can see it visually how it's growing. So it's a visual learning. But I felt like it's not for every child because every child is unique and they all have different learning methods. Some children are more outdoorsy, like they would like to go out and learn and not just stay inside and sit down for hours, doing things. So why in my 2.5 years in Montessori environment, I realized I need to learn more about different methods. I cannot restrict myself to only one learning method. So now I've come to New Zealand to learn early childhood, and I've been relieving a lot of schools for 3 years now. I go to different centers and I see how they work differently, and and I feel like we should not restrict child to one learning method. If there's so many learning methods out there, we should expose them to all the method to see where they're doing really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying that Montessori is just one method, and it may suit one type of child.
Yes.
And there's many other approaches out there, and that's what you want to do. You want to sort of see what's out there, and you want to
Yes.
expose yourself to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And so today you're here to talk about the best ways to calm children.
Yes.
And obviously you've studied Montessori. You've worked for 2.5 years in India. You've done a lot of relieving here, and you're studying here as well.
Yes.
To get qualified and registered. So let's talk about that. So in terms of you agree that that different child behaves differently and has different personalities.
Yes.
So you can't really use a cookie cutter approach to across all the children. So just elaborate a bit more on that.
So I feel like, see, every child is unique, and every child can be comforted differently. You need to understand the child and his needs. So what I usually do is, I ask the child, like, would you like a cuddle? If that's how they would like to be comforted, and if they say no, I respect that their decision. I would make a space and talk to them, and the best thing is to distract them. Like, you need to understand the reason why they're crying. Like, if they're hurt, you help them, and if they're crying because they're hungry, you like feed them. So these are things. But if they're upset, if there's separation, they're missing their parents, so I ask them if they want a cuddle. If no, then I maintain the space and I talk to them and I distract them, showing them like more creative ways, they can have fun. So you ask them to help you out if the things you're doing. For example, if you're making beds, you will ask them, come and join me, help me. Like, distract them with various things. And with babies and toddlers, I have realized they need that touch, they need that comfort. Like, I usually rub their back to calm them down, give them a glass of water if they want, and yeah, and you talk to them. You talk a lot. You give them words so that they can also later on express themselves better. If you realize that they are missing their parents, you tell them, "Oh, I understand that you're missing your parents, and they will be here very soon to pick you up." So you give them words so that they can express themselves later on. So that's what I usually do. Like, I rub their back, comfort them, give them water, distract them. Like, if they're only thinking about one thing, like missing their parents, I would like join them in a game with other children. And yeah, it's important to understand what they need.
Okay, so my question, because you've mentioned the word distract quite a fair bit,
Yeah.
and so my question is, as an adult, sometimes distraction is not the best way to deal with a situation. Why do you think that's the best way for a child
To distract?
to distract them? I mean, so amongst adults, if there's a certain issue, a certain problem, a certain situation, um, generally distraction doesn't work,
It does. For some people,
wouldn't it? No?
I would say, like, if I have a
Okay.
problem,
Yep. But the problem will still be there.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, problem is still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you need to take your mind off things, right? You would like to go for a walk to take your mind off these things. And there is solution to every problem. So you can't just start like thinking about it and dwell. And that's how you become distressed. You need to take your minds off those things and do something productive. So that's what an adult would do. Like, that's what I think. And that's what the parents are going to pick you up. So instead of thinking about that, why not enjoy our time here? Like, why?
Right.
Yeah. So
So-
that's why I feel distraction works.
Right. So like if there's nothing that can be done, but there is a solution, there is a solution at hand. It's just a solution that that requires you to be patient, and
Yeah.
it's further down the line. Then the best approach is to distract because number one, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Number two, there is already a solution in place. It's just a matter of just waiting for it to come.
Yes.
So in that regards,
And also
a
because-
distraction works.
So when child comes to a school, they because they're new, they're not familiar with the environment. And that's why I understand they would feel distressed. They would miss their parents. They would feel that something is missing here.
Yeah.
My parents are not here. The familiar surrounding is not here.
Yeah.
So that's why I
Yeah.
feel like distraction works, because
Okay.
you're showing them how to have fun. Like, what can they do to have fun?
Yeah. So in a way, that is providing a solution because look, it's not practical to take you out of this new setting because wherever you go next will always be a new setting.
Yes.
So it's a matter of just giving them the tools to try to be able to cope with
Yeah.
that sort of thing, and I can understand that. But what if it comes to a more practical kind of problem? Not to say that the situation that you mentioned wasn't practical, but something which is like snatching or hitting, or just always wanting attention from other friends or from the teachers. Is distraction the best approach? Like then, because it will still get them to. You may distract them and you may give them a new toy, or
Yeah.
get them to do a new activity. But then, if they don't know that it's wrong to keep poking
Slash,
someone
yeah.
or to irritate someone to get their attention, then those two just keep doing it then, right? And then you just gotta still keep distracting them.
That's not when the distraction would work, I guess. That's where you explain them what could be the result of snatching and hitting. So what I do is I explain them the whole scenario, like they will get hurt and it's not nice to hurt. I show them what they can do instead. I give them solutions. And if they're old enough to decide for themselves, I ask them for solution. Like, I don't think it's a good idea we snatch. What else do you think we can do? Shall we wait for our turn? Like, I ask them for solutions. So that works too, because they like to think for themselves.
Right.
Yeah, I think 4 years and above.
Yeah.
So if you ask them, you're giving them that importance, that attention that they need.
Yeah. So you come from a Montessori background,
yes,
basically, right? And you mentioned that you studied for 9 months.
Yes.
AMI, and now you're also studying
early childhood
at NZTC.
Yes.
Do you find any differences so far between the two? And what does that look like?
So I did. So when I was learning Montessori, it was all about learning about the materials. It wasn't about me, like what I feel as a teacher. But now that I'm doing early childhood, I can see it's about my values, what I understand from
Which
the
situation. Which is regio-based, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what are my values as a teacher? What would I like to inculcate in my children, in my class? So here I'm talking about more about myself and what I feel is right. And in Montessori, I learned only about materials. I learned about, I'm not saying, how should I say this? All right. So Montessori, I did not, couldn't identify myself as a teacher.
Right.
Yeah, I grew up with it. Like when I worked in a Montessori environment, I saw how it is. How do you deal with different situations? Because it's only when you start working you come across different situations, and you through experiences you build yourself, you develop yourself. But now that I'm started to learn early childhood, and we are doing all these assessments, I'm discovering myself, like what is important to me, and because there's no materials involved, it's more about me and the child. You know what I mean? So that's the thing.
So you say that it's very relationship based.
Yes.
As opposed to back when you were studying Montessori, it's more technique based.
Yes.
Where it deals with materials, tools that help you to deal with situations. And in your approach towards.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I know that there are a lot of people who believe in Montessori and they love it.
Yes.
And I also do know there's a lot of people out there that also believe in.
It's a beautiful method if you want your child to learn visually or by touching, and it's a beautiful method. Like if you also go in that environment and you start looking how they learn from those things. So yeah. But
it will really suit children who are prone to or they're inclined towards that to want to be able to see, to be able to feel.
Yes.
I see. Okay. So what else aside from distraction that you feel in your experiences working as a teacher that you find are good ways in terms of dealing with difficult behavior? You
just need to involve yourself in everything that they're doing. Like if you're just sitting in a corner and watching them playing and they're having like they're kicking and pushing each other, I feel like if you're more involved, like you're doing things with them, like you're creating something together, there's less chances of those things happening, like pushing. If you for example, if you're in the sandpit playing together, I would say that you join in their play.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a Montessori approach. That's a Reggio approach, or
it's from my own experience.
It's just a universal thing, or
it's from my own experience. I've realized if you are more involved in what they're doing and you do things together with them, there are less chances of how should I say? I know that there is learning even if they push, and they need to learn that it's not good. But if you're more involved in the activities that they're doing
With them, yeah.
with them, like as a team, if you're working together with the children, like let's build this thing together, let's do this thing together. And if you're working as a team, then there's less chances of disruption.
Right. Less chance of the kid sort of being a bit distracted and doing something naughty and,
Yes.
and creating
Yeah.
havoc.
Yes.
Right. But and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like I felt the Montessori approach was that one where you sort of would step back, not be too involved with what the child is doing, so that they can learn for themselves, figure out their own, so that they can figure out for themselves.
For themselves,
and,
yes.
and I get that.
Yeah.
So, but you're saying on the other hand that that could create certain problems where they might get a bit bored and then they start misbehaving.
Yeah, like if they don't, Montessori also says give them work. If the hands are busy, the mind is busy too. But if your hands are not busy, then your mind is disruptive. Then you would do mischievous things. But if your hands are busy, your mind is busy. So that's what I feel. You need to keep them busy, occupied, do lots of things with them, keep them busy. So that's what I feel. That's another Montessori way. You do need to step back. If they are busy themselves, like if they're occupied, I wouldn't go and trouble them.
Right.
But if they are not, if they're being mischievous, that means they don't have anything to do. Like they don't have work, they don't have any ideas how to play with things. Then I would give them options. Like let's do this together. I will see what excites them, what is fun for them.
Would you say you are confident in any situation to deal with bad behavior? I know it could be just yourself alone with a group of children, or just yourself with one-on-one. Where do you feel your comfort level is with regards to tackling these kind of?
So for a teacher, I would say every day is a learning day. Every day I learn a new thing. Like even after 7 years of teaching experience, even now I do come across a situation where I feel like, oh, no, what should I do? And I do ask for other teacher opinions.
Yep.
I'll give you an example. Like this one time I was in an early childhood center, and this 5-year-old girl, she was crying, and reason for her crying was, I asked her what happened, and she was like, he is talking to me. And I was like,
Okay.
but that doesn't sound to me like a problem. Like he's talking. And he was like, no, he's talking a lot, and I don't want to hear him.
Right. And so what? She left the guy to cry and
The girl was crying. She didn't wanted that guy to talk to her because he was talking a lot, and that guy actually likes to talk a lot.
Right.
So, and she was crying because she didn't want to hear him. So I was like, what should
Was she crying like in front of him?
Yeah.
So as he was talking, she was crying.
She was no, she wasn't talking. The boy was talking to her, and I asked her what happened, and then she told me that he is talking to me. I don't want him to talk to me.
Okay, but and so as you were talking to this girl, the guy,
he was still sitting there.
Was still sitting there talking.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! Wow, very interesting.
Yes. So I was like, okay, what should I do in this situation? I mean, he's not wrong. She is not wrong, because obviously she doesn't want him to disturb because she was playing with something, and he was constantly talking. So I was really stuck there for a moment. I was like, what should I do in this situation? So we do come across such situations sometimes where, as a teacher, after 7 years of experience, I don't know what to do. Then I spoke to another teacher, and we spoke to that child, the girl, that he likes talking, he likes to express himself. If you don't want to be disturbed, you just tell them that I will talk to you later. But, he's just expressing himself. So we explained her like that. It took her, she was just upset. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose at that age, you have very few tools to solve things. Not only from a I know how do I resolve this, but also tools internally. How do you deal with your emotions?
Yeah.
And I suppose she used what she was used to, what she knows, and that is to cry.
Yeah.
To just say I'm upset.
Yeah.
And it's just a general blanket saying I'm upset. You don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And there is no way of being able to communicate because it's not something that she's not familiar with, you know.
And there's another situation that happened just yesterday. So this girl, she was coloring, but it was like a very large picture, and there were a lot of how should I say, a lot of spaces to color in.
Yeah, yeah.
And she got tired. She was like, and she started crying. I don't want to color anymore. I was like, that's okay. You can leave this. And then she's like, no, but I want you to help me.
Right.
And because we encourage children to do their own work, I was like, I'm just going to help you a little bit, but it's your work, and I think you should do it. So she started, even then she was very upset. She didn't want her to color, and then she didn't like my coloring. She started crying about that.
Oh, wow. Yep.
So, but at the end we realized she was just tired. That's why she was like that.
Yeah,
But
you tend to be a bit grumpy.
yes.
Yeah, and I suppose, again, when it comes to children who don't know how to express themselves because they can't quite identify what it is exactly.
That's creating issue.
But you get that in adults as well, you know? So suddenly you realize towards the end of the day, why is this person so grumpy, so snappy, so short-tempered? Then you realize, they're hungry. And they themselves don't realize that, you know?
Yeah. No, that happens to me too. I also get hungry.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's a lifelong skill, I suppose, that you need to learn and
But
develop.
that girl was crying so loudly, she disrupted the whole center. So all the teachers were taking turns to calm her down, but nobody could actually because she was really upset. She was 5 years old girl.
Because she didn't want to continue coloring, but she felt that she had to finish.
She had to finish, and she didn't like my coloring. The people offered her another picture, and she was like, "I don't want to start all over again." So there were a lot of issues. And then one of the teacher, he's very old, and he offered, "Let's go and water the plants."
Okay.
And so that thing really helped her, like because she
Distraction.
had distraction, and it worked. For hours, she was planting water, going everywhere. She liked that control, and she was very happy about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So I've always believed, right? Being a relief teacher is very different from being a full-time teacher. You know, as a relief teacher, you don't generally have the relationships that you have with your colleagues and with the children.
Yes.
As you go to a new center, you know, you just stay there for a period of time and then you go away. So you need to have a personality for it.
Yes.
You know, hey, you know, it's not that the people at the center want to treat you differently or anything like that. They just don't really know you.
Yes.
And so you've got to be bubbly and establish new relationships and be fine that you won't see them again. You know,
Yes.
once
It happens to me all the time.
Yeah,
I go to different centers. Yeah.
and you gotta start that relationship again. And
Yes.
and for some people, it's tiring. You know, you just wanna make that relationship and settle down and be part of the team. You know, and I suppose with a reliever, you don't have that kind of camaraderie where you might be having lunch by yourself.
I can't relate to that situation because I am one of those who would like to meet new people, build new relationship, and I enjoy that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's never like I want to settle down now, I want to be in one school. Because going to different centers, I see different things.
Yeah.
I see different challenges. I see different children.
And that's-
I learn more with that.
And that's what excites you, and that's what you like, is it?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. You know, and so there's pros and cons, you know, and,
Yes,
and for some people
exactly.
who are built that way, they have that kind of personality, they appreciate that.
Yes.
Whereas there are also others who don't.
Yeah.
You know, they just want to know day in, day out, you know, who are my team, who can I rely on? I've got and I know what's happening around, and instead of being chucked into a new situation where everything's new and
I feel like if you're, taking a job in a relieving agency, I think you will be prepared. Wouldn't you? Like you're ready to go to different centers.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
accepting this. That's why you are in this job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So therefore the ability to be able to handle children, you know, in different scenarios is very important. Especially if you don't know them,
Yes.
especially if you don't really know the staff
Yes.
that could possibly help you and communicate with. It's
There is a solution to that. So when you go to a new center, for the first time,
Yeah.
I always make sure that I go early. And I ask them, is there any like special additional need child that I
Yeah.
need to be aware of?
Yeah.
Any like other situation that I need to be aware
Yeah.
of? I
Yeah.
always like it's always better to go there early to build that relationship earlier, like with the staff.
Yeah.
Because children, and then after that you will be working with children. You don't get that time of having a conversation with teachers.
Yeah.
But if you go there early, you can talk to the manager, because manager is the one person who knows each and every child.
Well, they don't have time.
They do, because
They
they're
do.
they're there.
Well, they could be busy with the parents.
But it's
so.
their responsibility to introduce reliever to all the teachers and all the situation. I mean, wherever I have been, they always let me go through the evacuation
Yeah.
procedure in case of
Yeah,
emergency.
yeah.
So they do
and
have.
that's the time that you take to.
Yes, yeah. That's the time you introduce yourself, ask about the center, ask about the children, about their needs, anything you need to be aware of, any
Yeah.
allergies.
Yeah.
I mean, I always ask this question before starting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I know my environment before I start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think as a reliever, you'll need to have, I suppose, more tools, more tricks of the trade under your belt to handle these kind of things where you don't really know the child, so you don't know the background story.
Yes.
You know, but yet you are required to deal with it because you are there. You know.
Yes,
And you're there to support the center. So what do you do now? You know, that kind of thing.
But if you have made any observation, if I make any observation, I
Yeah.
feel like, okay, I have if I've been in the same center in 2 days, 3 days, and I observe something, I do tell all the teachers, like, this is what I observe. And then they share, okay, yeah, this is how the child is, this is
Yeah.
what he does in certain situation and
Yeah.
circumstances. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. No, that's cool. So, like, you've worked in India and you worked over here
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
What are the big differences that you see between the two countries?
Because in India, I worked in a Montessori environment, and but I worked with international students even there. So I have
International students and also international teachers.
not international teachers, but
The
international
students,
teacher only when I was working voluntary.
Okay.
But this was my actual job. So Indian teachers, but international students.
Expats.
So, expats, yes. And so I think even if I go to a Montessori school here, it would be very similar, because
Right.
Montessori environment is basically similar everywhere.
Yeah,
So I didn't
yeah.
see a major difference in that terms. And because, I wouldn't say a major difference. But if you talk about Montessori environment and early childhood environment, then there's difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why you wanted to study.
Yes,
To-
I
to-
want to explore more. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Best ways to calm a child. Eh? Do you have any other tips in terms of what you do to calm a child?
To calm a child.
So cause from what I gather, you have distract.
You distract, yes.
Yep. And you've also brought up the case where, which was quite unique, where kid was talking a lot and the girl was crying because she didn't like that. And then, what do you do there? So, you would
Talk to them, yeah.
talk to them and then probably ask for help.
Yeah. Ask for help from the other colleagues,
Yeah.
if you don't understand what's,
Yeah. Anything else? Okay, so not just maybe like not just in terms of ways to deal with children, but what about when it comes to colleagues as well? Because sometimes the situation in centers can be quite stressful. Yeah, and tempers can get blown. Have you been in such situations before?
Like what kind of situation?
Like, I don't know, just really stressful situations in centers, especially ones where you have lots of kids running around. It can be really stressful, and it's predominantly very female based. Have you encountered any such?
No, I've never been in a stressful situation.
It's never really been a problem for you, eh?
No, never.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I think it must be your approach. It must be your approach towards
Yeah, I've
things?
never been in stressful. But there was this one time. Uh, I don't know whether I should talk about this or not. So in this one particular center,
Mm.
because we are relievers, we're not allowed to change nappies and
Right.
put them to sleep.
Yeah.
So I was in a babies and toddlers room.
Mm.
And so when I started working at the center,
Mm.
this one new child, she also started the same time as me.
Right.
She wasn't familiar with her surroundings.
Mm.
And so she was crying a lot.
Mm.
And you know how you calm the children down. So my idea is like to rub their back, give them a cuddle, and you know comfort them with,
Yep.
by talking to them. But this girl, because she didn't know me, she started crying. So I gave her that space, and this is like 10-month-year-old girl I'm talking about. So she saw me and she saw a stranger in the room, and she started crying even more. So I gave her that space. I would look at her and smile at her from far away, and then I would do that games like peekaboo from far away. I would talk to her from far away. And then eventually she started liking me, and then she wanted me to hold her. So I held her, and then I would comfort her. But one of the head teacher told me, you please put her down. We don't carry children. So if you want to comfort her, you can sit next to her. So that's what I did. I sat next to her and I just rubbed her back, and she was fine. But eventually what happened, she did not like any other teachers around. So whenever somebody came close to her, she thought that she would be separated from me, and she started crying. So they had a meeting about this, like what should we do in this case, because she is not a permanent teacher here.
Yeah,
So she cannot take up the role of being a primary caregiver. So that was the situation I was in, and I found that very disrupting because I cannot see a child crying. My natural instinct is to go to them and comfort them. I cannot see them crying for hours.
So what was the outcome of that discussion?
They changed my days. So the child attaches them like herself to someone else.
To a primary caregiver, someone who's a
Caregiver,
bit more
yes.
permanent.
Yes. They told me that I'm doing a good job, but the child cannot attach herself to me, so they have to change my days.
Yeah, yeah, and I suppose what you've just brought up is probably probably won't be a unique case. It probably does happen elsewhere. And I suppose I can understand that point of view because it's hard as a reliever to be able to form a relationship because
Yes. Because I'm not going to be there forever.
yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So that is a tough dilemma to be in, where your roles are very limited. And I suppose that's kind of why, because what I see quite a fair bit as well is relievers are sidelined to do the rubbish or the cleaning up and all that kind of stuff because it's not really primary caregiving roles.
Yes.
And then that in turn makes the relievers upset. Like, I'm not a cleaner, I'm not meant to throw the garbage out.
There's a way to save yourself from that.
Yeah, well, I like to hear. So, you've obviously have lots of experience.
Yes.
So when you can't do primary caregiving yet.
So if you indulge yourself with children, I'm telling you, like, be with them. Like, if you see a group of children, hitting, pushing, you sit with them, start doing stories, start doing songs, be with them, like, do things with them. And if you're busy with children, if you're occupying children, then the other teachers automatically would want you to be with children, and they would take up the other roles. It always happens to me.
All right, I see what you mean. They're not gonna pull you out of this activity that
Because
you're
the
doing.
children are happy. The children are happy with you. They won't want to take you away from that.
Yeah.
If the children are busy, they're not indulging in any mischievous activities, then they're happy and I'm happy, the children are happy, everybody is happy. It's a win-win situation. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you're saying is the best way to counter that is to take initiative.
Yes.
To
Participate.
and find activities, create activities that is engaging to the children as a group.
Yes.
So that you won't be sidelined.
Yes. Because if you're shy, if you're reserved, you're standing in the corner just watching children, then even the teacher would think like, okay, she needs a job. She's not being paid here to stand and watch.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
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 So you need to indulge yourself in
Yeah.
activities.
Yeah.
You need to do things.
And I totally agree. I think being a reliever, you cannot be shy.
Yeah.
You can't be one of those that takes time to form relationships with people, and then once when you're comfortable, then you step out, and then you start initiating activities and all of that. Because imagine every center that you go to, you take time to do all of that. There's just no time.
There's no time.
There's no
yeah.
capacity for centers to do that.
Yes.
You know, and you are in a way you are there to support the center.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, if you're shy and all that, the center has to support you.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
and that kind of defeats the purpose.
Yes.
And and you raised a really good point. I think being in that kind of position, and thus taking that initiative to create an activity that engages with children, I think is something that centers do appreciate.
Yes.
And you know, as I mentioned before, it's not something that's for everyone. And I think one of the requirements that is kind of a no-no is being shy. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to find that out. Like you know, if you were running an agency and you were vetting and interviewing relievers, how would you determine which ones would be a good one that would support the center and which ones would be ones which would require support by the center?
Oh, well, good question. I'll have to think about that. How would you determine that? It's the way they talk to you. I mean, you would know, like, how should I say? So, yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah. I was in a center, there was another reliever there. And that reliever thought, I'm part of the team. At the end, when I told her I'm from Jitbug, she was surprised. Because I am like that in an environment. Like I'm all out there. I'm with the teachers, I'm with the children. So, yeah. But, so I don't know, how would you determine? How would you? Good question.
Because you know, human beings are a very unpredictable bunch.
Yeah, they are.
And you know, asking a set of questions. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be the right or accurate gauge to find that out. Yes, that's not easy, eh?
It's not. Should talk about their experience maybe and what they have done in the past, like how they work with children, how you can ask. I think there's questions, maybe the right questions. Yeah. If you can
You see,
judge
the thing is
passion,
right.
right?
Yeah. I mean, like we would get teachers who have had years of experience, and really good references.
Yes.
But they're just shy. But they did really well because in the beginning, they had that support. They had that time to establish relationships and get to know the ins and outs, the policies, procedures of all the centers and all of that. And slowly they grew into it. And then they started
Yeah.
becoming a contributing member, and then
Now this reminds me of my situation. When I first came to New Zealand and I started relieving, because it was a total different scenario for me, even I was shy. Because I was taking everything in, okay, this is how things are, done here. So I think there is a initial stage where you observe and you learn, and then you take action. So I think it's okay if they're new here to country and they're
But what if they never change?
But then,
Is that
then you would know,
is that a
right? You will
possibility?
get complaints from the agent, from the schools, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but complaints also is that's a different thing altogether. You know, like we would get really positive feedback from many centers about a particular reliever, and then suddenly out of the blue, a real horrible, nasty one
One from the other one.
from the other one, you know, and then
Oh.
you start to investigate and you find out why, and you start asking questions. There's always two sides to the story, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, like in this one particular case, so we've had a lot of positive feedbacks about this reliever in the past, and it's always been very good, you know, very engaging, takes initiative, and um, communicates really well. And then out of the blue, at this one particular center, the center said the total opposite. Hands in the pockets, stood around, didn't know what to do. Total waste of our money, of our time. And then we go, wow, like a total 180
Wow.
switch,
Yeah.
right? And
Feels like she was too comfortable in her situation.
possibly,
Yeah.
you know, and that does happen. Some people who just get comfortable and then they don't
They don't
yeah.
care.
care.
Yeah.
But when we spoke with her, we found out that yeah, you know, like she said she started off doing some activities, started to try and engage the children,
Yeah.
but then the teachers and the head teachers there was like, you can't do this, you can't do that, and we're doing it in a manner which was like reprimanding her, and so then she felt uncomfortable. She didn't know what she needed to do then. She, you know, what she was used to doing, she can't do anymore. And then she goes, so what can I do then? And then that was when she started to stand around and just observe and then see. And then it just felt really awkward for her. And she didn't know what to do there. And then that in turn led the managers to the manager and the head teachers to comment that she just stood around and didn't participate and all that kind of stuff. So it's
There's always different stories. True.
there's always there's two sides. And so when it comes with dealing with conflicts, you know, dealing with issues when it comes to human beings, it's never really straightforward.
True.
You know, and whatever age, you know, be it children, be it adults.
Yeah.
And as a teacher, you know, when a lot of what you do is with human beings, yeah, it's not just numbers on a screen. It's it requires a lot of tact. It requires a lot of other skill sets involved.
Yeah. Yes.
There's what made you choose to go to ECE?
As I said, I
Your
already
auntie.
did Montessori, and I was relieving for early childhood centers. So I was really curious. I was curious about the philosophy. I wanted to study about it because, as I said earlier, I don't want to restrict myself to only one learning method. I want to see what all other learning methods are out there, so that I can give that to the child. Like, because every child is unique, and I wouldn't want them to be restricted to one learning method when there's so many out there.
Yeah, and there's so many children out there that you can't just categorize as being
Yeah.
a certain shape or size.
Yes.
Yeah.
So because I mean everyone's learning method is different. Like even you ask yourself like what's better for you, visual or hearing or like reading. What would you prefer? So it's same for the child too. There's different way of learning for them, and that's what I want to explore. Like what else can we offer a child? What are other ways of them to learn things? And in early childhood, because when I was doing Montessori, there's like 4 areas: practical life, sensorial, and literature. And you were asking about the difference. Now this reminds me. In India, they're too focused about learning.
Learning outcomes, right?
Learning
if
outcomes,
they can
like
write,
learn,
if
right?
they can count,
They can count.
they can read.
So before 4, they should be able to like
Do
at
all
least know their letters, know their numbers.
And parents drive that.
And there's a lot of pressure on teachers. Like, what is my child doing? Has he learned anything or not? So, and believe me, I had 2.5-year-old children learning reading 3-letter words. And here you can't. Here there's a lot of freedom. Like learn at your own pace, and that's what I'm starting to believe at. Like why pressurize child? Why put so much stress on the child? There's so much stress already for an adult. Why put that pressure and stress on the child? I mean, it's their age to grow, learn from their environment. Why there's pressure of, learning numbers, learning letters? And here in New Zealand, early childhood centers, I saw that they're not bothered even if they're not able to know their letters by the age of 6, which was initially shocking for me. Like 6 years old doesn't know alphabets. But it's okay. They will learn eventually. Like they take their own time, and there's no pressure. There shouldn't be any pressure.
Yeah, I mean, life is so much bigger than just being able to do one certain skill.
Yeah.
And I am a big believer in play, in what it helps to
How
achieve.
it achieve, yes.
Across many things.
Yeah.
So.
Like even if you're playing hide and seek, what I usually do is, if I'm playing with children, I tell them, okay, I'm going to close my eyes and count to 10. And then they copy me. They learn numbers through by playing, by having fun. I mean, that's what I like about it. They're enjoying to learn. This is how they learn. Why would you make them sit down and do okay, this is A, this is B. I don't think there's fun in that. And then eventually it becomes too monotonous for them, and they would want to run away from it.
Yeah, you don't discourage them at such a young age as well. And fun is the best way to get them to be interested in things, to get them to learn things.
Yeah, and I as a child remember it was all rote system for us. Like if the teacher said CAT is cat, it is CAT cat.
Yeah, and that was very much the same case for me as well.
Yeah.
They call it the spoon-fed system. They don't. It's very one way. They don't. There's no avenue. Or they don't allow you to come back to them to say, how about this, or could we do it like this? It's like, no, it's my way, or quite literally the highway. Yeah, yes. Quite literally, it's my way or the highway.
I would never dare to ask questions to my teachers. Yeah,
it is what it is. Yeah. Just follow this, and you'll get your A's, and your parents will be happy.
Yeah.
And hopefully you will be happy too.
Yes.
Right? Because they always compare you as well in class.
Yeah.
Academically, who's number 1, who's number 2, who's number 3.
And teachers would embarrass you in front of the whole class. They would know who doesn't know the answer, and they would pick that child.
And then
stand up. Stand up. Can you answer this question?
And you can't answer correctly, you continue standing.
That happened, yes.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want that situation for my children. I mean, the embarrassing moment, that the thing that you're not able to converse with your teachers, they're not offering you any other learning methods. What if I'm not able to learn her method?
Yeah.
Then we had to find tutors, So my whole life, morning go to school, evening go to tuitions, learn from tutors, because nobody is helping you the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very memory based.
Yes.
Memorize. If you don't understand,
just memorize
it. Yeah. The teacher will try to explain something. You don't understand? Okay, just remember. Okay, so they said this leads to this, and that leads to this, and there's this outcome. Just remember it. Okay, done. And they ask a question, I'll just splurt it all out the way I remembered it that way.
Yeah.
And you get full marks.
Exactly. So because in India, even in my university, we didn't have to write essays or do our own research work. But here when I came, we have to do our own research work. And it's a broader picture. You go to different websites, you read a lot of stuff, and it opens your eyes to so many different things. That's how you learn, when you read stuff.
Yeah.
When But then back in India, it was all bookish thing. You're thinking inside the box. Yeah.
What they've told you is what it is.
Yeah.
And if you can recite that, great. That's all we want from you, and that kind of teaches you to just toe the line and just follow exactly as they say. Yeah. And I do think that's what I appreciate about the education system here. Is that it allows you to think for yourself, and to question
and
why,
yourself,
and come to the conclusion yourself. And if it's different, let's talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's great, because life will throw curveballs, and it won't be a straight cut answer as how you studied it
Yeah.
at school. Yeah, no, I really appreciate this conversation. Talking about the things that you've been through back in India and what you're studying now and the differences. I've got to cut it short because
Yeah.
I think our time is up.
Okay.
But no, I really want to.
I remember one incident I want to share.
Yeah.
So you know how we were talking about distraction.
Yep.
So I was working with additional needs children.
Yep.
Distraction worked there as well. So this child pushed another child, and the other child started bleeding.
Mm.
And I wanted to talk to the other child, but because he was additional need child, I don't know, for some reason, like after pushing, he got scared, and he started running away. And I was walking after him so that I talked to him. But because he was very upset, he was just walking really fast, and I didn't want to have them that scared feeling because I could see that he's repenting it. He obviously didn't like it, but it was out of, I don't know, yeah. It
Just a shock thing, or just a momentary thing that he just
he just did it.
He just did it, yeah.
And he wasn't expecting that he would bleed or something.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he got really upset, but he started running away. And I was like, maybe I'm scaring him like by walking after him.
Yeah.
So what I did was I stood there and I was like, oh, it's a very hot day. Would you like a glass of water? Should we go and get ourselves water? And then he was like, oh, I thought she's going to talk about that incident, but she's talking about water. So I saw that expression changing, and he was like, yeah, I'm thirsty, I want water. And he came with me, he had water, and he calmed down, and that's when I had a word with him, we talked, and yeah, he was sorry. So distraction worked there too. It really works, it does. You just need to take them out from that moment so that they ease down, they calm down, and then you talk to them. Because in that situation, even they are aggressive. They don't want to talk about those things. But you can only talk to a person when they're calmed down.
No, I think that's a very useful approach, even amongst adults, even teachers to teachers as well.
Yes.
When they have conflict as well, I think they need to practice that themselves.
Have a glass of water. Calm yourself down.
No, cool. No, I really appreciate that. No, thanks for your time. Thanks for coming here.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you very much.